Hi everyone, I'm Devon and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about baby sleep. Sleep is obviously a very important and interesting discussion because there's so many different opinions and every baby's different and every mom is different, and of course, everybody has a different way of doing things. I wanted to talk to you about my daughter, and specifically because you guys are always asking me on Instagram questions about sleep. What's her sleep schedule? What's her sleep like? How do I get her to sleep, not sleep, whatever. So she is now 7 months. I meant to make this video months ago, but I just never found the time. And I got 10 minutes here. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna film that video so I can upload it finally now that Enzo is 7 months old. That's my daughter. And she's a pretty good sleeper. So she has been sleeping, she's been going roughly 12 hours at night since she was like 8 weeks old. Now I know every baby's different and this does not apply to all babies, and if you follow what I did, that you're gonna have like a perfectly sleeping baby at all. I just probably got really lucky and I got a good sleeping baby, and I'm gonna knock on wood because right as I say this, she probably won't sleep. But let's just talk about it. So I knew that I wanted to sleep train my baby, but I wasn't into the cry it out method. So there's different methods of sleep training without letting them cry it out, if you know what I mean. So what we decided was that at around 7 or 8 weeks, when she started to hit at least, I think it's at least 10 pounds for a newborn. So they need to be like gaining weight and like heavy enough, and the doctor will tell you when you can start stretching for longer periods at night, basically. In the day, she was drinking every 3 hours. 3 hours by that age, because she was eating a lot and she was gaining weight. So we started to sleep train her, and by sleep train I mean that at night we would put her down at around, I think then it was like 10 p.m. So whenever we started to get in bed, we'd put her in her bed, in her crib, not in my room anymore, in her crib. Whenever she would wake up, we would soothe her. We wouldn't feed her. So if she woke up and she started crying, we would pick her up and we'd give her her pacifier and we'd rock her back to sleep. And if she was able to fall back asleep without food, then that meant she was not that hungry. Of course, if she was crying and you couldn't soothe her back to sleep, then that meant she was hungry and she needed to be fed. So right off the bat, when we started doing this, we noticed that she would just wake up because she wanted comfort and soothing rather than the fact she was hungry, which for me as a mom was great because I didn't want her to be crying. I didn't want her to be hungry or uncomfortable. So that way it just told me that when she was crying or seemed upset, it was not because she was hungry, it was because she wanted to be soothed. So we did that for a few weeks, and within a few days, I mean days, we were able to stretch those feedings at night from like 3 hours, then it went to 5 hours, and then after a few days it went to 6 and 7, and she just all of a sudden was able to go longer and longer without feeding, which was amazing because I mean, yeah, she was actually pretty easy to train. So that's how we did it. That was my secret. There's really no secret there. It was that sometimes babies wake up at night and they're not necessarily hungry. They just want to be soothed and held or pacified. So I think there's a big difference. Of course, if you can't pacify them, they are hungry. But every time we would pick her up and we would soothe her back to sleep, she'd go back to sleep with no problem and then sleep a few more hours. So that's basically how we got her to stretch longer at night without eating. So when I say 12 hours at 8 weeks, I mean she would go 12 hours without eating. Now she would still maybe wake up a few times in the night for a pacifier or to be held, but she wouldn't eat. Now that alone made a huge difference. And so over time, that stretch of her waking up just got little like smaller and smaller and smaller. So she wouldn't wake up for a pacifier. She'd get better at finding her pacifiers in her crib. We'd put them all over the crib so that she'd be able to find them in her sleep. Then she started to roll over. So of course that was a problem because she'd roll over on her stomach and get uncomfortable on her stomach. So we'd have to go in and flip her on her back. But now she loves sleeping on her stomach. So every baby's different and every baby likes different things. Also, you guys were asking me about the transition between the swaddle and no swaddle. It was very seamless for us. We used a sleep sack after the first few weeks. You know, when she was really little, we used a blanket or a swaddle, but now we use a sleep sack that was a swaddle in it. So in the beginning we would use that, and then she would just slowly kind of get her arms out in naps or throughout the night and just liked her arms up. So we knew it was kind of time that she was able to get out of the swaddle, that you didn't need to swaddle her. So I would say that it was around probably 12 weeks was when we really stopped swaddling. She just didn't love it. We would do it at night and less during the day. I would say you start doing it less at night, or less during the day and then at night, and then you slowly get out of it at night. And then now that she's older, so of course she still wakes up in the night and will cry or is fussy. Sometimes she has gas. We try not to pick her up unless she's like pooped or has gas, which sometimes it's hard to tell, but you can go in there and you can smell it, or you can see how frustrated she is. Most of the time I just give her a pacifier. Now she's at this stage where she finds them herself, but before I would just give her a pacifier and soothe her back without touching her. Again, if she's bawling, crying, I take her out of the crib and I self-soothe her, or I soothe her. But normally she self-soothes. Usually she wakes up and she's like, and then she finds a pacifier and she kind of goes back to sleep herself. So I never got to a point where she was bawling, crying. I didn't want my daughter to feel abandoned, or what everyone says, about letting your baby cry it out. So luckily I just had a great baby that was able to be trained without having those terrible cry it out moments. Maybe she knew that she didn't need to cry to be soothed by me. She just needed to fuss and I would be there. I don't know what the method is behind it all. I just know that that's what worked for us. Now, naps were a big, hard thing for us because until she was 5 months, I swear, 4 to 5 months, she was being held for every nap. She did not know how to nap on her own, which is funny because she was always really good in her crib at night. But nap times were all over the place and she needed to be napped on us. We put her down, she'd wake her up. So that was a tougher transition actually than the evenings. We used the Huckleberry app to help predict her nap time. So you plug in when she sleeps and then it will automatically tell you when she should probably be tired based on their age and their wake windows. So that app has been incredibly helpful because when you start to see them rubbing their eyes, they get fussy, they get tired, then they have trouble going to sleep because they're too tired. It's a vicious cycle. But we started using the Huckleberry app and we, little by little, every time we'd hold her to sleep, we put her immediately in the crib or a flat, dark, white noise area that she can nap. And little by little, she would wake up less and less. Finally, we got to the point where we were just rocking her to sleep, put her down, she'd take her whole nap in the crib. And then little by little, we put her in a little bit less asleep, and she would put herself to sleep. Now, we'd sometimes put her in and she'd cry for a little bit or get a little fussy, but I'd give her a toy. She'd kind of look at it and then she'd be able to self-soothe back to sleep. Now, this was a process, her nap process, that was a month to 2 months of a process to get her weaned off of napping on us. So it wasn't an overnight thing where we just did this. It was a slow process. I'm just telling you my process, and you gotta go off your baby. So maybe your baby picks up on it great, maybe it takes longer, and I don't know what's gonna work for your baby. This is just what worked for mine and what worked for me, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not a sleep study practitioner, and I don't know all these things. I read a few books and a few articles, and have asked people for help, and this is just kind of the feedback that I got and what worked for me. So I don't want to tell you these things and think you follow everything, it will work for you. This is just what we found worked for us. Every baby's different. You just have to make sure, for me, the key for babies, this is the secret to babies for sleep, in my opinion. Schedule. You want to make sure that they have enough calories throughout the day. You want to make sure you're feeding them enough throughout the day. They have enough calories that they can sleep through the full night. That's step one. You don't want them waking up hungry at night. Your baby's not going to sleep well until they're full enough to where they don't wake up in the middle of the night. Step two, once they eat enough during the day and they have enough calories, then you want to make sure that they're on a schedule. So the feeding schedule throughout the day, and then that routine, that nighttime routine is so key for sleeping. I can't even tell you. So like I said, her feedings throughout the day are all on schedule every time, by the minute most days. And then the bedtime routine begins at 6:30. We do the bath, we do her lotions, we do her jammies, we do the white noise, we turn the lights off. It's very calming. She knows it's bedtime. Every time that bath and that bedtime routine happens, she knows it's gonna be bed and it's time to sleep the whole night. You don't want confusion between the day and night. That's another thing. You don't want them to nap. And when they're newborns, of course, they nap during the day thinking it's nighttime and vice versa. So you want to make sure that when they nap in the day, it's not fully dark and that they know that it's not nighttime. And then nighttime, you want to do that bedtime routine with the bath so that they know, oh, after the bath is when I sleep all night, right? Schedules for babies, for my baby, is so key and so important to them being happy and thriving, in my opinion. And I think that's why I've been somewhat successful. But again, I knock on wood because I don't want to screw myself over here. But that's just what worked for us. And I hope that I've answered some of your questions about sleep and nap. A lot of you guys ask what Enzo's schedule is. It really depends on her baby, but her schedule right now, I'll tell you, now she's almost 8 months, is always wake up at 7 a.m. So sometimes she'll sleep till 7:30, sometimes she'll wake up earlier, but no later than 7:30 we get her up. First bottle, formula. Play till her first nap is around 8:39. Then she naps for an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 45 minutes, totally depends. We wake her up, we give her breakfast, that's her solids. So she eats oatmeal, cereals, yogurts, fruit, whatever, right before her bottle. And then her bottle is at 11. Play, nap time again around 12:31. She sleeps for an hour, hour and a half, wake up, play, purees again for lunch right before her 3 p.m. bottle. So lunch, food, and then her 3 p.m. bottle. And then, God, food is like a whole different vlog, I could tell you guys. But then after that, she plays, and then she has one more nap before bed, which I try to not let go longer than 30 minutes. And I try to not let her go down past 5 p.m. because then it's too close to bedtime and she won't be tired. But then she plays and naps for 30 minutes, wake her up, play, dinner, which is her purees again. She has vegetables, fruits, whatnot. At around 6:30, her bedtime routine starts. Bath, white noise, darkness, massage, everything. PJs, sleep sack, and then her last bottle of breast milk at 7 p.m. And then she's out by 7:30, and then the day starts again. So that's her schedule, but every baby's different, and it changes weekly depending on how long her naps are, what she's eating, how much, whatnot. So hope this was helpful for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks so much.